Check this out. Tear gas, pepper spray, getting arrested even. Those were just a few of the risks for journalists covering last year's massive protest. And with that, it wasn't just career journalists who were out there on the front lines. Student journalists were also out on the front lines too, getting the story, taking those same risks while also fighting for freedom of the press. And that battle in particular is tough for students. Can you imagine? Since today is Student Press Freedom Day, we've got 3 student journalists with us now to talk all about this. I want you to meet my brand new friends. Please welcome. Maddy, how about we do a little roll call? Wave if you are Maddy. Hello. How about you, Amisha? Hi. Wave.
Hi.
And also Eddie. Hi there.
Hi.
And of course, our viewers are at home watching, and we want to tell you that we're going to put up some fun facts about each and every one of these student journalists. So please follow along, read along, and of course, listen along. So how about we start with you, Amisha? First question is, why did you decide to get into journalism? Why was it so important for you to jump into the business with all of us?
I think as a student, a lot of times, because we're so young, it's easy to feel like it's hard to make the impact that we want to make. And I think I found journalism as kind of an avenue for activism and making a difference with my voice, even if it is in little ways and even if it is just in my local community. That was what initially intrigued me. And once I got started, I fell in love with it.
How about you, Eddie? What sparked your interest in the business?
Definitely being able to bring to light stories that aren't always highlighted. I mean, this past year, we saw this massive reckoning within our society. And so journalism provided me with an avenue to highlight things that were going on in my community and shine light on issues and to provide a platform for marginalized voices to speak from.
And Maddy, I have a 2-part question for you. Not just why did you decide to get into journalism, but really my question is, were you ever discouraged along the way? Because we were talking offline, and I see here that you were personally affected by intimidation during some of your protest coverage. So can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I think, echoing what's being said here is, I got into journalism to give really a voice to the voiceless and to represent those who aren't always heard. And, we really saw that this past summer with the international racial reckoning. It's definitely hard to juggle being, wanting to represent the story and tell the story as thoroughly as possible while, also being concerned for your physical well-being and your safety and dodging bullets and flashbangs. And thankfully, I never experienced tear gas, but I know several of my fellow journalists did. So, it definitely was a lot to go up against, but that's why we do it, to tell these stories.
Yeah, gosh, you said flashbang. It just brought back some flashback memories of me working my way up in my career, a sound that I will never forget. Here at Good Day LA, we of course have a team of journalists with us as well. We have Tony and Araxia standing by. I know they have lots of questions for you 3 as well. So how about you, Tony?
Well, I actually have a question of Amisha because, Amisha, I know that you're in Chicago, and I was born and raised in Chicago, so I know, having lived there, having worked there, having gone to school there, that Chicago can be a tough town. So I want to know whether or not you've actually faced any specific challenges doing what you do as a student journalist there in the Windy City.
So my school is actually in a west suburb of Chicago, so I'm not in the city. But I think covering protests that occurred in the summer in the city was definitely difficult. The police response to the protests made it very difficult. So for sure, there were some challenges there. But a lot of my coverage is also local, which works to my benefit because that's a little bit easier for me.
And Eddie, I actually worked in Portland before I came back home to Los Angeles. I worked at CBS there, Coin TV. And when I was there, the whole Occupy Portland thing was happening, just blocks from where I lived. And I remember being, having that, trying to find that balance of being scared to do my job, yet knowing how important it was to do my job. And you covered protests a couple months back where you were tear gassed, you were thrown up against a wall. Talk a little bit about about, you know, what you thought journalism was going to be, and then when you were actually in the thick of it, what it became? And did that change your mind? Maybe you didn't want to pursue this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a shock to have gone from covering school events, from covering sports games, assemblies, whatnot, to covering this massive movement that had gained national and international attention, and then also the struggles that came with it. Even if you had asked me even a year ago what I thought the summer before my senior year was going to look like, I would not have told you that I thought I was going to have flashbangs thrown at me by federal agents in unidentifiable military fatigues. I didn't think that I would be shoved up against a wall when I had my hands up and was labeled as press. I didn't think I would have crowd control munitions guns pointed at me while I was standing with the press corps. I didn't think I would be exposed to ungodly amounts of tear gas, which is banned by the Geneva Convention. So I did not think that I was going to be getting tear gassed by my own government. And so it's opened me up to reality, but it hasn't changed my passion. Instead, it's made me more passionate to protect freedom of the press and to protect other journalists.
You know, and with that, how do you think that our viewers can support journalists? Because let me tell you guys that, you know, I didn't realize it then. I was a radio reporter on my campus. I went to Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas. We didn't have a big TV station. You know, obviously the station was in Austin. It was covering our viewing area. But at the time, I didn't realize that all the local news we were doing was servicing all the students on campus. And so I realize now the importance of that and the importance of student journalists. But how can we continue to support you guys? Eddie, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, so there are lots of ways that you can support your local student journalists. You can support Student Press Law Center, which is working to help student journalists across the nation who are intimidated both by police, they helped me, and also who are censored by their administrators and whatnot. So you can support organizations that are supporting student journalists. And of course, you can support your own local student journalists. Most areas have a high school or a college newspaper, especially if you're in a larger city area that services your community. And so you can look for those newspapers. A lot of them are linked on the local high school website or whatnot. And so reaching out and finding student newspapers in your area that you can support with your patronage and that you can support with your readership and even make monetary contributions to, those are all great ways to support your local student journalists.
You know, Eddie, that's actually a really great way to end this conversation, and a way that we can advance this story is helping all of you all in the remarkable work. Amisha, Eddie, Maddy, we're fast friends. We're all in the biz now. Thank you so much for your voices and shedding light on such an important day. We really appreciate you. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing you back here again, maybe standing right next to me, right? And Araxia and Tony as well. Thank you. Great conversation and great work. Good work. All right, still to come, you guys. For more information, I should tell you, on the Student Press Law Center, go to splc.org, just like that.